In this video, we will learn how to use pointers with functions in C++. First of all, pointers can also be passed to functions just like we pass primitive data types. Pointers can be used particularly to pass arrays to functions efficiently. This allows the functions to work directly with the array elements without making copies of the entire array, and thus it helps in saving memory. Let us understand how to pass pointers to functions with the help of this example. In this program, we are going to find the sum of elements of an array by passing pointer to a function. So basically, we are going to create a pointer to an array and then we will pass it to the function in order to find the sum of the array elements. Let us begin by defining the function. Let's call it as sum array because that's what we are actually doing. We are calculating the sum of array elements. So here return type of our function will be integer. Name of the function is sum array, and this function will take two parameters. First one is the integer type pointer to the array, and second is the size of the array, which is also an integer value. Then in the next step, we will type the function body. We are going to define this variable sum and initialize it with value 0. This sum variable will be storing the summation of all the array elements. And since we are going to take an integer array, therefore the data type of this variable sum is also int. In the next step, we are going to iterate through all the elements of the array using a for loop. For that, we will have to go from index value 0 up to index value size -1 I++. Inside the loop body, we will be iterating through each element of the array, and we will keep on adding the current element of the array, which is accessed by arri, to the current value of sum. And finally, once we are done looping through all the elements of the array, we will return the final value of sum from the function. Now it's time to define our actual array. The data type of our array is integer, and let's call this array as numbers. Suppose it has 5 values only. Let's say the values are 100, 200, 300, 400 and 500. You can store any random values also. In the next step, we are going to call the function sum array, and since it is returning an integer value, which is the sum of all the elements of the array, we are going to create one more variable total so that it can store the returned value. Inside this variable, we will call the function, and we will have to pass the name of the array, actual array, which is numbers. Along with it, we have to pass the size also. Once the sum is returned, it will get stored in this variable total. Now it's time to print the sum. So here we will type cout/n sum of the array elements is equal to total. And as you can see, my program is already saved. So let's run it. And here we got the sum of array elements is equal to 1500. Just like we return any other primitive data type from the functions, we can also return pointers from functions. Let us understand how to return pointers from functions through this example. In this program, we are going to find the greatest between two numbers using pointers with functions. So our first step is to define the function. Let's say the function name is findMax, and we are going to return an integer pointer from this function. Therefore, I am using an asterisk symbol with data type int. Also, this function accepts two pointers to integers. First one is num1 and num2. Inside the function body, we will compare the values pointed to by num1 and num2. So let's do it. Star num1 If it is bigger than star num2, then we will return a pointer to the greater value. So we will return num1, else we will return num2. Now inside the main function, we are going to define two integers and initialize them. So our first integer is a, let's say its value is 15, and the second integer variable is b having value 25. Now it's time to call the function. So call the function, and we are going to store the value returned by the function in another pointer variable. Let's call it as big. So this big will be storing the value returned by findMax function, and inside this function we are going to pass the addresses of a and b semicolon. We can then print that the greatest value is equal to, and here we will have star big. That's it. Let's run this program. And here you can see greatest value is 25. In the previous video, we had discussed the advantages of pointers. Now it's time to take a look at the disadvantages that come along with the usage of pointers. First, pointers can make code more complex, not just for beginners but also for advanced programmers, because it directly deals with memory addresses. Second, code becomes difficult to read, maintain, and debug. Third problem is that pointer-related code can be non-portable across different platforms due to variations in memory architecture and pointer sizes. And lastly, errors in pointer arithmetic can lead to accessing invalid memory locations, resulting in crashes or data corruption in the program.